Hello there and welcome. As you can tell by looking at me, this is not Verl Workman. This is Cleve Gladdis, and I am totally happy to be Verl's stand-in today. Verl is my main man, and I'm always happy to fill in for him. In addition to Cleve Gaddis, you've got one of my favorite people on earth, and that is Chance Brown. I consider him, he's a client. He's a friend. He's a business colleague. He's a fellow strategic thinker in the real estate world. Chance Brown, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Man, I'm so excited to be here with you, Cleve. Thank you so much.
I think it's going to be fun to have a good open conversation today. And by the way, if you've just joined us and you're thinking that where your business is relative to where you would like it to be, if you're thinking that you'd rather be somewhere else, you know, that you don't have the right work-life balance, that you're not producing as much as you should, that you're not making as much profit as you should, then I invite you to go to workmansuccess.com, click on schedule a free strategy session right on the main page, workmansuccess.com, schedule a free, easy for me to say, schedule a free strategy session. Chance Brown actually reached out to us 3 or 4 years ago doing kind of the same thing. There's no obligation whatsoever, and we'll see if maybe there's a way for us to take your business in the right direction. Chance, I want to start out. So let's tell everybody a little bit about you and your business and your background. And as you're talking, I'm going to step away from the video and turn the light off behind me so my video will look a little better.
There you go. All right. So coincidentally, 17 years ago today, I started in real estate.
Okay.
Just happened to be today. And I started out working for a home builder and was really just trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up, to be quite honest. And that led me down a road of really falling in love with real estate and falling in love with the idea of helping people find the fulfillment of home ownership. And after several years at that home builder, I decided to get my license, go out on my own. Did that right as the economy went into the tank. So that was a fun couple of years there. And by fun, I mean terribly stressful and broke.
Well, let me interrupt for just a second and pick up your train of thought. But I know working for the home builder that you worked for, I know that you learned good sales systems and the benefit of doing the right activities. Talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah. So the builder I worked for, it was David Weekley Homes. Be happy to tell who it was. A great organization, ranked as one of the top places to work in the country each year on Fortune magazine. And I had the good fortune of receiving just amazing sales training. And really, I say it to our agents here in the brokerage all the time. It's just the daily disciplines repeated over time. It's I like to go the Justin Timberlake route and say it's bringing not sexy back. And that's really what it is. It's not any of the stuff that anybody likes to do. It's not the shiny quarter. It's not the new marketing this or that. It's just picking up the phone and calling people. It's doing the little things with consistency day in, day out.
So you mean you're not going to give people today a bunch of secrets that only you know that then they can know and put in place in their business, put in practice in their business?
I feel like I just did. I mean, that's the secret, right? That's the silver bullet.
The secret is there is no secret. Okay, go back. You left.
You're running a business and you actually need to run it like a business. And that means getting up and doing the stuff that you don't like to do.
That's right. Go back to yourself personally. You left David Weekley Homes. You moved where? That's where I interrupted your story.
So I went to a small independent broker here in town, and great guy, still a very good friend. But I just didn't get a lot of training, support, systems, things like that. And so there was a significant amount of I don't know what I don't know. And so I was looking for that. And that was when I first hired my first coach.
Okay.
And that was really designed to help me put processes and systems, because unlike most other realtors out there, I am not a process and systems driven person. I am this feels like the right thing to do. Let me go do this sort of person. And then I find myself either playing catch up or, I've got a to-do list of 425 things that are all 33% done. Right.
And by the way, never get any more than 33%.
No, never. I don't ever accomplish anything.
Which I'm not so sure what the benefit is of achieving 33% of anything.
Exactly.
I'm not so sure what the benefit is. Chance, I want to interrupt again. As you went off on your own as an agent, As I understand it, it was not the happiest and most productive and highly functional period of your life. So you really got your life out of whack and out of balance. Talk to us about that a little bit while you were trying to burn it at both ends. You were doing a lot of business.
Well, so actually I went from like one extreme to the complete other.
Okay.
So when I first got out of working at the home builder, I really was kind of in this lost period where, I was trying to figure it out. I was doing a little bit of business here and there, and it was building, but it wasn't really taking off. And that's when I hired my first coach, and I started putting these processes and systems. And I mean, within 90 days, the coach had paid for himself for the whole year, and my business took off. And I went from doing 15 transactions one year to 50 the next to 96. And that's when I kind of swung that pendulum over, and it was the complete opposite. My life was completely out of whack because I just didn't have any time to do anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was working 20 hours a day. I was horribly unhealthy. I mean, I was smoking a pack of cigarettes. I was eating whatever bag I could find on the road. I mean, it was just, it was not a good situation.
No balance. It's easy to get stuck in that and not even know you need to fix it. Fortunately, you were still in your 30s back then, and you figured out how to fix it and move on and have some more balance. By the way, Lloyd Dennison is watching. Hello, Lloyd. Linda Burnett says, happy real estate anniversary, Chance.
Well, thanks, Linda.
Was that the anniversary of your brokerage that was a week ago or so?
No, today is 17 years in the real estate industry. Today I started working at David Weekly Homes.
Well, happy anniversary. Happy your real estate anniversary. And Linda, thanks for sharing that with us. I appreciate it.
So you're absolutely right. I mean, it was not a good balance. And honestly, it wasn't me that realized it. I was, you get into that mode and you're working and you're just hustling and you're grinding it out. You're doing the things and you don't realize that you haven't taken a break. You haven't done anything to help you.
Yeah.
And it was actually my wife that came to me. And it was like, look, something's got to change, man.
Yeah.
Horribly unhealthy. You're not around. Something's got to change. And so we went away for a weekend, and really that was a reset and a reprioritizing of what we wanted to do. And that was when we decided that we wanted to open a brokerage.
Right.
And so here we are today, 7-ish years later, 8 years later.
Yeah.
And it's, best decision we ever made.
And you were with a national franchise for a while, or you were a franchise of a nationally branded system. Then you went independent over the last 3 years. In fact, that's what you hired Workman Success Systems to help you with. If you're actually on with us today live on Facebook, man, ask us questions, interact with us. We'll be happy to pass the questions along to Chance and see if we can get you some great information. Okay. Everybody thinks, so I would say on average that most people who know you, Chance, think you're successful. And most people who look at someone who is successful, they assume that the successful person's life is different than theirs. And that's where their first mistake comes in. And I hate to say that. What percentage of the time of your work time would you say you are stressed and kind of uneasy feeling about things? And what percentage of the time are you calm and confident and productive? Just give everybody the reality.
So the reality is that it's probably a 60-40 split that I am calm and not nervous.
And when you first started, it probably was 90-10?
It was the other way around. Yes. So, I think some of the calm comes with experience.
Yeah.
I think it's just, time and grade, right?
Yeah.
But it's also something that I very seriously practice.
Yeah.
Is, anytime something goes on and somebody in my family is freaking out about something, or anybody around me is freaking out about something, my first question to all of them is, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Right.
What's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah.
And let's focus on, that's not really that bad a thing. Your life's not going to come to an end. You're not going to go broke and be living in a box on the side of the road. And let's focus back in on what the actual problem is and solve that.
Yeah. And you say at least 60% of the time you're able to get everybody back on track, including yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, even the 40% of the time that I'm feeling stress, I'm not feeling the same kind of stress I was 2 years ago or 10 years ago. It's probably a mixture of a little bit of concern about a situation, but also excitement about the things that we've got going in the future. And so there's a little bit of anxiety and stress about the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. I just want to make sure that everybody's clear that when somebody's successful, it doesn't mean they don't have the exact same worries that you do. It generally means they have a little better ability to deal with the stress than someone who tends to be a little bit less successful. So you've been married a good long while. Tell everybody just a little bit about your family so they know this kind of pressures you deal with. You might have already mentioned it, but I didn't hear you mention the number of kids you had.
Nope, I've got 2 kids. I've got a teenage daughter, so that's super exciting and fun to come home to every day.
Yes.
And I've got a 10-year-old son who is a nonstop ball of energy, which has its own challenges, but it's a good time.
I love it. So if somebody said, okay, Cleve, you can choose from any word in the entire English language, and you got to give me one word to describe Chance, I would describe you as authentic. But I would also say I would almost have to use 2 words together, and that is authentic culture. So you take who you are and you're trying to grow a business, and you've grown from 130 agents 3 years ago to 325, 330 agents today, which is amazing. You've grown from 1 office in Houston to what will be 4 offices in Houston by early next year. I think you'll have your 4th one open. And so talk to us about how you've created a specific culture for, number 1, your brokerage, and then number 2, how somebody might do that for a team.
Yeah, so, I would tell you that I spent the better part of my professional career before I became self-employed trying to please other people.
Yeah.
I changed the way that I dressed. I changed the way that I talked to people and interacted with them. And I just got to a point where I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just not,
Yeah.
I'm not going to wear a suit and tie because that's not who I am. I mean, what you see right here is what you're going to get from me, 9 times out of 10. And that's just who I am. And I try to bring that authenticity and that really drive to be authentic, right? I mean, it's something that we purposefully talk about in the brokerage is you don't have to be this stereotypical, I've got my cell phone in my headshot type of person.
You're right.
Just be yourself. That's who people are buying. That's what you're selling. And so I just try to bring that in, just be very, very authentic. But the downside of authenticity sometimes is that you don't come off as empathetic. You come off as it's about me. It's about, oh, look at me and I'm the t-shirt wearing guy, or I'm the guy who says the F word every other word, like a Gary V type of person or something. And so you really have to be very empathetic with the people that you surround yourself with in order to make sure that authenticity spreads.
So I hope everybody is listening to that the more important it is for the leader of a brokerage or a firm to be authentic, to create culture and core values, it's also on the flip side, it can be a real weakness because if you're truly authentic and you're all about being who you are, you might not pay attention to someone else. Let me ask you a question. When you say you need to be empathetic, now I know what having empathy means, and I think everybody listening does, and I know how that's different than sympathy, because when I feel sympathy for you, I feel sorry for you. Right. When I feel empathy for you, I feel whatever you are feeling. So, but how do you do that in a business capacity? Because people got to get stuff done. Let's go. Let's stop being babies. How are you empathetic with people?
Well, I think that the number one thing is listening. And listening to actually understand and not listening to react and not listening to respond, but actually listening to what's going on and then putting yourself in their shoes and saying, okay, if that was happening to me, how would I react?
And how would I feel? How would I feel? What would be the emotions that would be going on inside of me? What kind of stirring would be going on? Negativity.
So we have a saying inside the brokerage of do for, not to. And it's kind of a combination of servant leadership with creating experience. And so we want our actions to be for someone, not we're doing something to them, right? And I think there's a huge, huge difference between those 2 words, for and to. It's a big, it seems subtle, but it's really not.
And would you happen to have a t-shirt that says do for, not to?
T-shirt that says do for, not to, actually, yes.
Hey, I want to interrupt with a question. David wants to know, how do you convince your potential clients that there are no downsides to working with an independent versus a national brand. You have gone from being a non-existent player on the top 25 firms in Houston to cracking your way in the top 25. And I believe you might have cracked the top 15. So obviously you can get to business. How do you help your people deal with that?
Well, I think it's an education issue, realistically. The national brand doesn't have any more power in a marketplace like Houston anyways than anyone else, because ultimately at the end of the day, if we're going to be really, really honest with each other, what sells homes is the MLS. And so I know it's top secret.
Don't.
But what sells homes is the MLS. I mean, most of the stuff in my listing presentation is to sell the seller on using me. It's not really probably going to result in the sale of the home. What's probably going to result in the sale of the home is the fact that I put it in the MLS, another agent with a buyer saw it, brought that agent out to see it, and they wrote a contract.
Right.
And so, I mean, it really, at the end of the day,
let's say that,
issue.
I'm sorry to speak over you, Chance. I apologize. 70% of the time, that's exactly the way it works. Maybe 20 or 30% of the time, it requires some extra effort and some extra oomph, but it's very interesting.
Right. And so if you're an independent and you're asking that question, the answer is you've got to have your system, your marketing system, whatever that looks like, whether that's a combination of social media and open houses and print or whatever that looks like. You've got to have that put together and be, okay, here's what that 70% is in my marketplace. Here's the other 30, and this is what I'm going to do to sell your home. And it's just dispelling the myth that these big brands, all of a sudden, somebody in Spokane, Washington is going to say, oh, well, yes, because of the national brand that you're a part of, I'm going to go there. And I will, as an afterthought to that, because I want to make sure I am fully upfront with David, I also happen to be in a market where even the largest player by production doesn't have 5% market share. So I'm not in one of these markets like in the Northeast or something where, a certain brokerage has 60% market share. Not like that.
Okay. So thank you, David, for the question. Let's circle back in and let's talk about, I think you've got a couple more things you want to mention in terms of how you're authentic and you create a strong culture, because that is what you excel at. And by the way, if you're listening and you're feeling like, hey, I'm here and I want to be here, I don't have any work-life balance and I want to have some. I don't make any profit in my business and I want to make some. I invite you to go to workmansuccess.com, workmansuccess.com. Look for schedule a free strategy session. It's free. You can talk to one of our coaching consultants. That's what Chance did when he got into coaching. He had some decisions to make about whether or not it was a good fit, but let somebody give you a free strategy session. Might make a big difference in your 2021, even if you don't want to do coaching. So Chance, let's roll back into the last couple points.
Yeah. So I use this term a lot when I'm talking with our agents, and it's complete BS. I just totally made it up. It doesn't even make sense because the two words are at odds with each other. But we try very hard here to be proactively reactive. And what I mean by that is we take that empathetic listening and we try to get to the root of the problem and then go out and proactively solve that problem. Because the truth of the matter is, if one person is experiencing this, there's probably more than one person experiencing it. And so we listen to our agents asking questions. We listen to our agents, talking about this or that, or the things they're having problems with. And, when I talk to our leadership team, my questions are, what are you hearing? What kind of training do we need to do? What do we need to work on? And so, we've had a bunch of negotiation issues recently because our market is so hot. So literally 5 minutes before I walked in to do this, we were watching a masterclass with Chris Voss, the author of Never Split the Difference, on negotiating. And so we really try to listen to that and bring solutions to the table that'll help.
So you try to react positively. You react positively. React positively. Any other thoughts you want to share on culture?
The last one I would say, one of the things, and it goes with authenticity, is being transparent. And that means being vulnerable. Don't be afraid to admit weakness, because it can go a long way.
Wait. So if you're a leader, everybody expects you to be perfect. And so how do you tie together the vulnerability of being human with also being a leader? Because most people who are in leadership roles, they don't know how to do that.
I think you just have to be honest and tell them. You don't have to put up this front. You don't have to go out and say, oh, I'm the big bad, strong, tough guy. And I'm from Texas. We don't mess around with that kind of stuff.
No, that's right. That's right.
And so, for me, it's really, if we have a problem, if we have an issue, we have leadership groups that we bring together and we're like, listen, I don't know what to do here. A lot of this stuff, I've never owned a brokerage with 4 offices. I've got one with 3, but we're about to open number 4. And what is that going to look like at 10? And how do we make sure that we're doing these? And the truth of the matter is, I don't know, because I've never done it before. Fortunately, I have a relationship with Workman that has shared success stories from other brokerages around the country that we can lean on, but we've got to make it our own here. And so that's the part where we go and we're just like, listen, we need your help. Come in, help us, and we'll fix it. And then the last thing I'll just add on that is have something bigger than selling homes.
So tell me more. What could be bigger than selling homes when we're all trying to make a living selling homes?
I think it needs to be something that you're a part of. I think you need to feel like you're something that you're a part of. So in our culture, we genuinely feel like we are bucking the system of the traditional brokerage. In addition to that, we also feel like we have an enormous responsibility to our communities for them to remain vibrant for long periods of time. And so we set up a 501c3 inside the brokerage. And a portion of all the fees that our brokerage receives go into that, and our agents can contribute into it. And this year, we're going to put over $100,000 back into our community.
It's amazing. And Chance, you celebrate that probably more than you celebrate anything else. I don't know if I'm misrepresenting that, but when I hear you talking about the charity work that you guys are doing, it just comes out entirely differently, even than when you made the top 15 list.
Yeah. I'm sure some of my agents are watching this, so I don't want to just say this outright, but I would love to operate the brokerage to fund the charity. Honestly, that's what we have a real passion for. I think that agents don't do a very good job of stepping back and realizing what it is that we do in the lives of people, right? I look at our job as we are the purveyors and the protectors of the American dream of home ownership. And I think that that is an awesome responsibility. And I think that with that responsibility comes a responsibility to your community. And so, it's something that we're super passionate about here.
I love it. Hey, got another question from David. Do you have a specific target market or any motivated buyer or seller? If so, how did you choose it? I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you answer
it. Truth be told, David, I really don't. And when I first started, I started out during the downturn. And so there was a ton of investment property, a ton of foreclosure and REO. And so that was kind of the focus. And then as I hired a coach and tried to start building a real estate business, because I saw the light at the end of the tunnel, I am a consultative type of salesperson. I'm not a go out and knock on doors or chase expireds, things like that. And so really my target market is the networks that I build, but I'm also, as diligent as I am about remaining in contact with those networks, I'm also very, very diligent, and we train it really, really hard that you've got to continue to grow those networks. So otherwise you're just going to stagnate.
And so further to that, David, Chance has been out of production for quite some time now, and he has agents, 325, and they all have different specialties in different market areas. So his firm specializes in all market areas of Houston through its individual agents and their training. You mentioned earlier that if you want to create a culture, you have to give people sort of a system to sell that has something to do with the brokerage. And in most cases, agents are so busy trying to figure out how to differentiate themselves from the brokerage that nobody is getting any type of push or tailwind from the brokerage. How have you helped solve that problem?
Well, so I'm a nerd. There's just no other way to say it. I'm a nerd. I love statistics. I love math. I love looking at things like that and seeing the data in front of my face, because the one thing that I know is that numbers don't lie.
Right.
And so we were looking at the 2018 profile of buyers and sellers that NAR puts out. And one of the big shocking things that came out to us was that our sales cycle is now a decade. And so we started thinking about, if people are staying in their homes for a decade or longer, how do you stay relevant? And how do you stay valuable to a client for a decade?
Right.
And that's a hell of, outside of mattress and life insurance salespeople, I don't know anybody else who has that long of a sales cycle.
Yeah.
And so,
and we know the answer is, in most cases, we don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so as we started pulling the thread on that, what we really discovered was we didn't need to know how to stay relevant and valuable. We needed to know how to be relevant and valuable in the first place. And so we created a communication system inside the brokerage that we've built into our CRM, we've built into printed materials, that, we have all of these things, and really they're designed to educate, inform, and build value. And the big part is building value, because your average human being that was educated in the United States was given citizenship and sponsorship or sportsmanship awards for not bragging on themselves. Right. And so as agents, we do a crap job of really talking about the things that we do for our clients.
Yeah, we talk about who we are and how great we are, but we don't talk about the benefit the client receives, which is really what you're looking for.
Exactly. And so what does the client see? They see us post that we're out showing pretty homes, and then we go to happy hour in our fancy car, and they see us post that we're at the closing table, and we go to happy hour in our fancy car. So that's the perception of what a realtor is. You're just there to open doors, and that's why there's negative pressure on commissions and things like that. And so what we really tried to do is create a system where every step of the way, the client knows what's happening, what's going to happen. So there's expectation setting built in. But more importantly, they know what the agent is doing for them during that time period.
Because the agent is telling them what they're doing, even though they're doing something that they probably would never tell them that they're doing. And so if you have a specific system for selling homes, our philosophy, yours and mine together, is you need to name it. So in your case, what's that called? What's the system called?
We call it the CB&A way. And we have selling the CB&A way. We have a buyer system set up, and really it's designed around that communication.
How would you say that has worked out in terms of people who have decided to adopt it and use it standpoint? Because in most cases, brokerages come out with something and nobody ever uses it. The adoption rate in brokerages and teams is so low.
So the printed materials go a long way, because it's something tangible that you can put in front of a client and say, this is what I'm selling.
Yeah.
If I go into the Apple store and I want to test out an iPhone, I can do that. I can pick something up and physically play with it. If I have that, I have it in front of somebody. And so the printed pieces have gone a long way. If nothing else, if it does nothing else for our agents at all, if it just gets them thinking about the experience that they create for a client, and the building value in what they do, so that their clients when you get to the closing table, your client should be like, man, you really worked your ass off for us. This was great. Thank you so much. Let me refer you to everybody that I know and like. And that's the whole goal.
I love it. Chance, I have, by the way, Kat Rockwell says, Chance has done a great job to provide the tools to his agents who want to work a target market. And I think she was trying to answer David's, what's that?
I said, thanks, Kat.
She was answering David's question. We've only got about a minute left. But I would love, because everybody in the country feels like what's going on in their market is unique. And nobody understands how little inventory there is. And nobody understands all the multiple offers. And you just can't understand. Give us just a quick synopsis in 60 seconds of what's going on in the Houston market. And then we will sign off and wish everybody a good day.
All of those things you just said. Is that the right answer?
No.
We have no inventory. Okay. We have no inventory. Everything's a multiple offer situation. We need listings. Like tomorrow, we need thousands of listings. Last we checked, we were in the area surrounding the office that I'm at right now. We were in every school district around here. We were under 2 months of inventory, which is just, in a place as big as Houston, it's almost saying that statistically we have no inventory.
Really?
And so it's a great day to be a listing agent. It sucks to be a buyer's agent.
So Chance, I know one of the things that you're doing is you've launched the Double Your Listings in 120-day program. You're using the Workman Success systems. And so if you're listening and you'd like to see our sort of proprietary guide to the 5 things you need to do to double your listings in 120 days, go to that workmansuccess.com website, click on schedule that free strategy session, and I will make sure that one of the coaching consultants gives you exactly what you need. Chance, thank you so much for being on. Please, if you've got a final thought, let's hear it.
No, I was just going to say, here's the proof in the pudding on what we're talking about. towards the end of last year when the market was normal pre-COVID, we were closing, somewhere just shy 150 to 175, 180 homes a month from our brokerage. And we have, in the last 3 months, been closing 270 plus. And so just focusing on those little daily disciplines like we started out talking about in order to double our listing inventory, it's been a huge boost to our agents. And so it's schedule that session. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Thanks for the tip there, Chance. As your friend, as your mentor, as your personal coach, as a fellow husband, as a fellow father, I want you to know that I am very proud of what you do and what you've accomplished.
Well, thank you. That means a lot.
I appreciate you for being on today. And those of you who joined us, thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care.
If you are ready to level up your real estate business, set up a coaching consultation by sending an email to coach@workmansuccess.com. That's coach@workmansuccess.com.